You never know when you meet someone for the first time that they're going to have a lasting impact on you. And I remember the first time I met Samson and his son Walter. They were pretty new to Charlotte. They were visiting our church. And he was very quiet, reserved, dignified. And it's Charlotte, so I thought he could be a bank executive or a businessman. And I didn't know his story and the journey he'd been on. I didn't know the trials he was facing right then with just trying to survive in America. I didn't know the legal things that he was going to be going through and dealing with. I didn't know what asylum seekers were at that time. Thanks to Samson and his family, I've learned a lot. And my husband and I, our ministry has been changed and transformed because of them. But beyond that, beyond affecting, teaching us a lot about asylum seeking, they've taught us so much about faith and service and courage. And I'm probably going to start crying, but they've had a profound impact on my husband and I's life and on how we parent our children. I'm so thankful for Annette and Samson, and it's really exciting to me to do this story with them today. So we're going to do it interview style. You ready? Well, first, Samson, could you just tell us a little bit about why you had to leave Zimbabwe, and then after that, had to leave South Africa?
Okay. I left Zimbabwe mainly because of political persecution. So I was a small-time preacher in our local area. So because of the violence that was going on, I was preaching, and during the preaching, I was making statements that were not liked by the ruling party. So because of that, they then came to our house wanting to beat me. I ran away, but my wife and my brother were beaten. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that is the reason why I left Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. I was working for a South African company. So I went to South Africa. It was easy for me to go to South Africa because already I was working for a company. So I got a work permit. Mm-hmm. That's how I ended up in South Africa.
But then, why did you end up having to leave South Africa?
Yes, so leaving South Africa, I was going back to Zimbabwe from South Africa, time and again. Mm-hmm. So the other time I went to Zimbabwe and I met some of those people who beat my wife. Mm-hmm. So when I met those people, it was in Marange. Mm. There is a place where diamonds were discovered. Mm-hmm. So if you stray in that area, the military, they guard that place. So they get you and they force you to work. Mm. So I met those ZANU-PF, that is the ruling party. So they got me, and then they beat me and they took me to that military area. So I was forced to work with other people for 6 days in that mining area. Then I escaped. When I escaped, it was said that some diamonds went missing. Yeah. So ever since that time, they've been looking for us, for those people who escaped with me. So they eventually came to South Africa. There were people who our house was under surveillance. But myself now this company that I was working for, it was an IT company. So I was moving all over in Africa. like Malawi, Zambia, Tanzania. I would go to all those countries to implement systems. So when they came to our house looking for me, I was not there. So eventually we had to move from that place to another place in South Africa. So during that process, that's the time that I decided to come here to America.
And when you came to America, what did you know about the asylum process?
When I came to America, I did not know anything at all about asylum. In fact, I thought it was going to be the same way like the way I had gone to South Africa. You know, where I would do, my main concern was just to be away from the likelihood of me getting into a violent situation. So I just came here thinking that I would just get a job, you know, and then take my family away from Zimbabwe. So when I came here, I met some other Africans at a certain church in Charlotte. Yeah, I arrived here in New York. So in New York, it was very cold for us. Then I said to myself, where can we go where it is warm?
Florida.
Yeah. So I've got, I don't know if I can show a picture here.
Is it connected? Yep, we got it.
Okay, so this is my son. I came here with my son. Yeah, so you can see.
He looks cold.
He looks cold there. Yeah, so we decided that no, we cannot survive here. Yeah, then that's how I came to North Carolina in Charlotte. I did not know anything at all. So the pastor that I met then said, no, you have to go through an asylum process. Then he explained it to me, and he took me to a guy who was helping refugees. So the guy then guided me in how to do the application. But even himself, he did not know exactly how the process was to be done, you know, like how do you put together the application. Yeah.
And then when you arrived in Charlotte, too, there was a lot of other challenges. Like, what were some of the other challenges you faced?
Okay, the first thing is it was a fear, actually. Yeah, I was scared. I was scared to approach people. So it was easy for me maybe to approach that African church because of you know what was happening, like the political situation, you know, everywhere. So I was actually scared, you know. So when I was told that you need to go through the asylum process, then I got someone who introduced me to some Christians from Congo. Yeah. So he introduced me to Julia's church. This is how I got to know Julia and other members of the church. So yeah, it was difficult.
Yeah, there wasn't a good place to live.
Yes, so I did not have accommodation. I did not have blankets, and our clothing, we did not have enough clothing. So this guy, he had a thrift shop. This pastor introduced me to a guy who was working with the refugees. So this guy had a thrift shop. So I was now like helping him
Mhm.
run the thrift shop. In the evening, I would sleep at the back of the shop.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that went on for 6 months. And this guy then, who is also a refugee,
Mhm.
introduced us to Julia.
Mhm.
And I remember my husband coming home right soon after he had met Samson, and he went to go visit them, and he came home and I had dinner ready and dinner out, and my husband sat down at the table and he suddenly just started sobbing. And he said, "We have so much food, and I've just been to visit them, and they have no food." They're living on 2 or 3 cans of food a week. Is that where you were?
Yes, so this is the place where I was, and these are some of the refugees. So that were there, and I was there like helping this guy, like run the place, cleaning the carpets, doing everything that had to be done, to make the place homely.
Mhm.
And the thing that I got from that, without taking anything away from this guy, we had that accommodation that we had in the back of the shop, and when he was around with us, then we would have maybe warm food, nice food. But there were other times when he would be away and would not have food. So would be lucky, like if there was a party that was held during the weekend, Saturday, that's when we would get food that would take us maybe to Thursday or Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, maybe would have no food. Then Saturday, maybe there would be a party. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe there's a party, and that's how we survived.
And so eventually they were able to get a place to live and get work authorization. Samson's very talented and skilled. He's a programmer. He went through UNC's boot camp.
Yes, so what happened is that I had about 12 months of not working. Because initially I did not know how to submit the papers. So when I eventually submitted the papers, there is a 6 months period where after submission of papers you are not allowed to work. So all those for me were major obstacles, of livelihood. Up to now I really don't understand why there is that role. Because once you are here in America, whatever reason, I think for me I see it as a bit cruel, to have that. Whatever reason, even if someone is gaming the system, at least allow that person to have livelihood. Then the process can go on, and if it is not successful, then the person can be deported. So we had help from the church. They would then bring us food, clothing, and sometimes we would run out of rental money, and they would give us. And well-wishers in the church, some of them who did not wish to be identified, helped us with cash, and even paying for part of my boot camp at UNCC. Then also even prayers with us. When my wife joined me, it was also a well-wisher who came and said, okay, this is the ticket money for your wife and daughter. And they were then able to join us 2 years later.
So what from your experience, and what encouragement would you have for the American church, for Christians, service?
I think I would want to read a scripture. This is on Matthew 25, verse 31 to 40. I don't know if I can quickly read that.
Please.
I hope I'll be quick on this. Matthew 25, verse 31 to 14. And this talks about the final judgment. So I'll read it quickly. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne. Before him will be gathered all the nations, and he will separate people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep on his right, but the goats on the left. Then the king will say to those on the right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me." This particular verse, it touches me. Because, I was a stranger. People, they are scared, when they meet strangers. And it's okay, because a lot of things happen, when you meet strangers. You don't know people can harm you, So I was a stranger and I was welcomed. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly, I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me."
That's right. Amen.
Then I also have Hebrews 18, verse 2. Hebrews 18, verse 2. So it says, the heading says, "Sacrifices pleasing to God. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares." So this is like an encouragement to Christians that they should not neglect to help. They should be able to see human suffering. For those who are fortunate enough and are able to visit other countries, like if you are having like a holiday or a vacation, go to refugee camps, because that's where it starts. Before you start seeing people coming here as refugees, go to those places and see how people are living in those places. When they come here, refugees, most of the times they are already getting help through United Nations. But when you see how they are staying in those refugee camps, it's like the way I was staying when I came here in America. Because here in America, there is no United Nations. It's not here. They are not present here to help people fleeing from persecution. But they are there in Africa and those other countries. So I feel that they should also have some presence here. They should work with organizations like yourselves, to bring capacity so that you can help those asylum seekers. Yeah. So.
Thank you.
That is what I would want to say.